show off the truck as it is. Like I said, it's my 2020 Ford F-350. I got it in 21 and it had about almost 10,000 miles on it. I think it had somewhere like 9,800, something like that. And I had a 2017 F-150 at the time that I traded for that. And so I got this truck basically brand new for basically half price, half sticker price. It came out of Canada. It was assembled in Kentucky, but it was shipped to a Canadian dealership, and then it was shipped back over the border to the used car dealership where I bought it from in 21, and I've had it ever since. I used that truck to go get Mitsubishi. I use it almost until I got Mitsubishi. I used it pretty much every day. It was my daily driver for everything. I went on road trips in it. I pulled trailers with it. I went to work in it, went to the grocery store in it. It was just kind of my one solo vehicle that I had for absolutely everything. But now that I've got Mitsubishi, I can take this around town too, which is good because it's easier on this truck, considering it does still have its emissions equipment and I don't have any plans to delete it. Talk about the truck and some of the things I've done with it and some of the places that I've taken it, and what I kind of think of it overall. It'll kind of be like the very long overdue part 2 to my Tremor first impressions video, which was the day I bought the truck. So whatever the day of that video is when I bought the truck. So I suppose that now would be as good a time as any to kind of go into some of the other things that, you know, I've done with the truck since I've had it. Obviously, you know, you saw in the couple videos, the one that Chris made and the one that I made. This is the truck I drove to Michigan to pick up, Mitsubishi. That's probably the furthest I've taken it, maybe. A place an hour south of Saskatchewan might be holding that in second place. But no, Michigan was definitely further than Saskatchewan, or I don't even remember the name of it. Lucky Lake, Saskatchewan, but Beersay, that's what it was, or Beersay. That was the town that I had a service call in. I drove this up there for that. And then I've taken it to the western part of the state, I got some family over in the Kalispell, kind of Flathead Lake area. I've driven it over there, kind of in to a place called Ronan, which is just south of Flathead Lake and Polson. And then I think I might have taken this thing to Silver Bow, Montana to go snowmobiling one year. I think in the winter of 22, I think I went down to Silver Bow, Montana. That's a great place to go snowmobiling, like 14,000 foot elevation at the tops of the peaks, and just all powder. It's such a fun time to go snowmobiling up there. I had to load one of our company's other service trucks on a trailer and take that back from a place called Turner, Montana. And it's not necessarily like a long drive in of itself, but the biggest thing with that was we had to go like 35 miles an hour because of we can only push it on from the back, so the nose of the truck was facing the same direction as my truck, and the biggest problem with that is all the weight was in the rear. So for those of you who have pulled trailers, especially longer ones that have really bad weight distribution, you'll know that if most of your weight is behind the axle. When you start going forward and at a certain speed, the back of the trailer is going to want to start to fishtail, and it'll create almost like a resonance pattern that just builds on itself, and eventually it'll start doing this, and it can flip a vehicle completely over. It can rip a vehicle from one lane comfortably in one lane to upside down in the ditch on the other side of the road. And that almost happened with this. We got up to like 45 miles an hour, and I blinked and I was in the right lane, and like I said, I blinked and I was in the left lane. So that was kind of nerve-wracking. So yeah, I found the speed that we could go. The good speed was about 35 miles an hour, so I just decided to keep her at 35, and yeah, it took about 2.5 hours. There was some road construction in the way too, but that was a heavy load. It was an F550 with a service bed and a crane on it, and a tri-axle deck top trailer, so it was heavy load for having it so unbalanced. Like I said, pulled snowmobiles, pulled boats, pulled hay trailers, horse trailers. My mother has a couple horses. What else? Chemical. I've hauled crop chemical for farmers before. Big 265 gallon shuttles of like Roundup and stuff like that. My dad had a business selling crop chemicals, and then he sold that to another crop chemical company here in the state. And now he just does the crop dusting and the aerial wildland firefighting. We operate seats, which are single engine air tankers. So we're not technically a part of the Forest Service. It's actually a part of the Bureau of Land Management, or the BLM. So we don't necessarily get on the same fires that everyone else does, like the helicopters and the scoopers and the VLATs, or they're called very large air tanker, or VLAT, and then LAT is large oil tanker. Large aerial tanker, and that also applies for VLAT too, very large air tanker. So we actually we'll get put on the same if the BLM and the Forest Service agree, but if it's just a Forest Service fire, then we won't be on it. Usually we get put on more like public areas, or obviously land that's owned by the BLM. So I've had to kind of help with pulling around some of those support trailers. Not like on the road, just moving them around, but they're big gooseneck trailers with a mobile chemical mixing bay or mixing pad built into them, and they also carry upwards of 250 gallons of jet fuel, because the air tankers that we run, even though they're smaller, they still run on Jet A. They're turboprop engines. So those are some big trailers. I've taken this thing out on I don't know how many service calls just within Montana, like out to Circle, Montana, Big Sandy, Saco, Turner, yeah, just a lot of places. Galata, Montana. So yeah, I guess in that time, like I said, I put almost 80,000 miles on it. It has almost 90 right now, and yeah, it's been a good truck, and like I said, it's still fully emissions equipped, and I don't have any problems with it, really. I think it's been a good truck. The only things I've really done to it is I put a SMB cold air intake on it and a SP Motorsports fuel pump disaster prevention kit for the CP 4.2. I do know that stainless diesel has the DCR pump, and recently SPE just came out with a serpentine belt kit that you can add on to a 6.7 Power Stroke to run a CP3 conversion, and again run it off a serpentine belt rather than the timing gear. So I might do one of those in the future, but both of those mods are pretty expensive, so I don't know if I will get to them soon. But I'm also not going to wait for my CP 4.2 to fail on me. So I'll definitely decide on which one I want to go with. The DCR obviously has been out longer, so it's had a lot more time to be had some real world prototype testing and real world testing and situations. So and I'm not saying that the guys at SP Motorsports, they make incredible products. I'm just saying that the DCR has been out longer, so if there was any bugs with it or kinks when it first came out, I'm sure they've been worked out by now. But again, the CP3 is a proven pump. The CP3 has been out is so much longer than any DCR or CP4. So, and the CP3 pump is again, it's a very proven pump that has proven itself in countless drag races, sled pulls, street driving or street racing, daily driving, towing. The CP3 pump is a great pump, so it would really just come down to the serpentine pulley and the mounting bracket and the other fuel lines that are added to it to convert it over from the CP4 to the CP3, which I know that SP Motorsports is, again, they're more than capable of coming up with a reliable solution for that. They're very good at what they do. But yeah, so those are some things I might do to this. I might try to get some emissions equipped tuning from Duramax Tuner or Calibrated Power. Their stealth tunes are seen as some of the best for emissions equipped. I know they've been run in the King of the Streets events a few times, which is basically diesel pickups and diesel engines that are emissions equipped. It's an event with that as the core concept, that they are 100% street legal. So you can bring any truck as long as it's compliant for whatever model year it's supposed to be. And there's a drag race, there's a sled pull, there's a towing competition to kind of show off not only like the power of the vehicle but the skills of the driver, stuff like that. And Calibrated Power has taken their own 6.7 truck to those and won. So I know that the tunes that they have for the 6.7 engine, and I mean 6.7 Power Stroke, are obviously very good and are competition worthy. Not that I would ever use this truck for competition. This is, other than Mitsubishi, this is my only truck. And when I eventually get to Mitsubishi, cutting the frame apart and putting in the new stuff, that's going to be back to this truck. So I obviously don't want to have this thing down. Maybe I'll get the 77 running in the meantime. But yeah, so that's just some of the stuff I've done with the truck, and it's served me well, and I highly doubt it's gonna stop anytime soon.